Shalom, Israel. I hope everyone has a great day. Today is another installment of what I like to call Hebrew heroics. See, they like to tell you that we took enslavement and slavery and oppression and mistreatment and all that stuff. They like to make you think that we took it lying down, that we didn't fight back. Our ancestors always fought back. We never took this punishment, easy, even though the punishment comes from the Most High, because he said, in this captivity, we will only be oppressed continually, and that we will fear for our lives from the moment we wake up until the moment we go to sleep. It says we will serve our enemies. The punishment says that our enemies, the heathens, the Gentiles, will be over us. The Most High is doing all this. So just because he put the punishment on us, that doesn't mean we didn't fight back and we just took it like, okay, because we're a strong people. A very, very strong people. The majority we are the global majority, regardless of what they tell you. And as the Most High, as it's written in Deuteronomy 7:6, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God has chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people on the face of the earth. But this is just one of those, like I said, I like to call them Hebrew heroics, because our ancestors always fought back. We ain't just never take it. And, trust me, I tell you once again, slavery was not expansive as they like to tell you now, because we were already over here. Then some of our brethren and sisters came over here in slavery, but the majority of us were already here and we were already free, and we didn't get enslaved. But the ones that did, they fought back. This is Andry's Rebellion, 1811. As I said, this comes from www.blackpast.org. Very, very good website with a lot of good information, a lot of good historical documents that, the media just not going to tell you, because they don't want us to know that we fought back. They don't want us to know how strong and powerful we really are. They don't want us to know if all of us come together and start worshiping the Most High Lord God only. That's all we got to do, is come together and start worshiping the Creator, the great I am, the only God. That's all we got to do, is come together and worship him only. It's over with. We're back in power and in rulership. But the Most High says he's going to make his chosen, his elect, he's going to place them back in rulership anyway. And the hard-headed Hebrews, Israelites, who don't want to worship him only, who want to be stuck in idolatry, there's harsh judgment for them. So they have to take that up with the Father. I share the scriptures, but right here, this is Andry's Rebellion, 1811, contributed by Samuel Mamadou. It says, Andry's Rebellion, also known as the German Coast Uprising, was a slave revolt that occurred in the territory of Louisiana between January 8th and 10th, 1811. The revolt, the largest servile uprising in United States history, was named after the owner of the plantation, HEROICS-Andry, where the uprising originated. At its peak on January 10th, it involved approximately 400 to 500 enslaved men and women, because we used to battle together, along the east bank of the Mississippi River north of New Orleans. Led by Saint Domingue, Haiti-born slave named Charles Deslons. The uprising was inspired by the Haitian Revolution of 1791. Slaveholders also feared a Haitian-style uprising, partly because blacks outnumbered whites in the region by a ratio of 5-1, and in particular because of the large population of free blacks in the area that were assumed would help and support such a revolt. Yeah, there were free blacks in the area because they were indigenous to the land. They were already over here. But of course, they saw their brothers and sisters that came over here in slavery. So if they needed some help, a lot of times they would help them. And if they escaped and came to their land, to their property, they would help them. But you see the Haitian Revolution of 1791. So now you see why they don't want our brothers and sisters, those Haitians down in Texas. They don't want them in America. They don't want them here, because we really outnumber everybody else here. They just don't show us that. So they don't want any more of us here. They don't need us coming together with our brothers and sisters over in Haiti and in the Caribbean. They don't want that. But anyway, slaveholders also feared a Haitian-style uprising, partly because blacks outnumbered whites in the region by a ratio of 5-1, and it was like that a lot in the South on these plantations. We outnumbered everybody, and in particular because of the large population of free blacks in the area that they assumed would help and support such a revolt. The slave rebellion began on January 8, 1811 at the Andry plantation in St. John the Baptist Parish, when approximately 15 slaves attacked plantation owner Manuel Andry, wounding him. Despite his wound, Andry escaped and warned whites on surrounding plantations. Rebels also killed his son. They weren't rebels. They called them rebels because they was fighting against slavery. You mean kings and queens and princesses and princes? Also killed his son, Gilbert Thomason Andry, around the same time. The rebels then crossed into St. Charles Parish, headed to New Orleans, and as they marched, their numbers grew. According to eyewitness accounts at the time, the rebels marched in military style while beating drums, waving flags, and armed with pikes, hoes, axes, with a few carrying firearms. Enslaved people from other plantations joined the Andry plantation rebels, increasing their ranks to up to 500 people. While in St. Charles Parish, they killed John Francois Trepanier, another plantation owner. As the rebellion unfolded, terrified whites on plantations along the Mississippi River escaped for safety to New Orleans. William C.C. Claiborne, the territorial governor at the time, called out the militia and imposed a curfew. General Wade Hampton, leader of the militia, assembling 2 companies of volunteers and eventually with the additional help of regular U.S. Army troops and Navy sailors, the rebellion was finally put down. Now, you know, in the Constitution, it says you can't have armed forces and soldiers and stuff on American land fighting, but they did it against us. Nearly 700 soldiers, more men than the number of rebels, broke the resistance on January 10th. Rebel leader Charles Deslandes was captured the next day and brutally executed. By the end of the uprising, the rebels had murdered 2 whites, but more than 95 rebels were killed during the uprising and in the retaliation, making the suppression of this revolt the bloodiest in the history of the country. After the rebel slaves were captured, they calling them rebel slaves because they was fighting against slavery. That ain't rebellion. That's their right. They were kidnapped. But anyway, after the rebel slaves were captured, 3 tribunals were conducted by territorial officials at the Destrehan Plantation in St. John the Baptist Parish and in Orleans Parish. On January 13th, the Destrehan Plantation trial resulted in 18 enslaved people being found guilty. All were later executed by firing squads, and after their deaths, their severed heads were put on pikes along the major roadway to New Orleans to intimidate other black slaves. After the rebellion, authorities tightened the restrictions governing the activities of free blacks in Louisiana while freeing some loyal slaves who provided information, sellouts. They called them loyal slaves because they provided information to their slave owners that these brothers and sisters were about to fight against slavery. Still got them to this day. While freeing some loyal slaves, they got freed, who provided information or who, by serving in the militia, helped crush the uprising. So we had our brothers and sisters selling us out, telling the slave owners and the oppressors, the devils, that we were about to fight back. Not only that, fought with the oppressors to fight against us. But that's part of the curses, because the Most High, Deuteronomy 28:54, the brother that's tender among you, his eye shall be evil towards his brother. The Most High said we were going to be against each other. We were going to fight against each other and kill each other too, just like all the other nations of people. But this ain't about that. This is about Andry's Rebellion, 1811, Hebrew heroics. Yeah, a lot of us died, but we fought back. We ain't just take this. We ain't just always just sat back and just took this ass whipping like we do now. And I heard Dr. Umar Johnson. I don't really deal with dude too much, but dude, he says some powerful stuff sometimes, and it's right. All other races of people, they come over here or they're here, they want power. We just want participation. He was right about that. That was powerful. All other races of people, white, Asians, Mexicans, Latinos, all other races of people, Africans, they come over here, they want power. They stick together, they want power. While we just asking for participation. Participation on something that's already ours. Asking for reparations for something that's already ours. Don't give me your reparations. I'm good. Because the Most High says for y'all gonna bring us gold back anyway. You're gonna have to give it back. Now you can sit here and ignore all of this, or you can go and try to make it right with the Most High's chosen people before he starts judging and paying our enemies back for everything that he caused them to do. He commanded them to do this to us, but he said he's gonna avenge us. But anyway, Andry's Rebellion, 1811, just a little history lesson. I'm gonna bring it to y'all, even because the media ain't gonna do it, but we ain't just always took this ass whooping. Our ancestors used to fight back, and some of them knew they were gonna die. They were like, so what? Straight warriors. And you hear it said, 500 black men and women together. We used to be together, man. No one used to be able to break up that union. Oh, but the Most High said he was gonna break it up. That the black man and black woman weren't gonna get along. Yes, that's a punishment too. But at some point we're gonna come back together, all of us, and the ones who remain loyal to him gonna be super good. Shalom.